Yes, and welcome to another edition of the Kwame Ture Memorial Lecture Series. I want to welcome our guests, whether you're here in Trinidad and Tobago, or across the Caribbean, or indeed across the world. This is a product of the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. And today on the menu is Haiti. Before we begin, let me just apologize for that 5-minute delay due to technical difficulties on our side, and to let you know that it will not hamper the rest of the program. Everything is sorted out now, and we are ready to go. So, without further ado, our subject for today is Haiti, a Pan-African responsibility. And of course, we have the very special Roel Gibbons with us. I'll give you more details about him later as we introduce him. But we're going to start today's program with a special short film called What Will It Take to Bring Stability to Haiti on the Brink of Civil War? Let's get right into it. And when we come back, I'll introduce you to my special guest today. I'm Shabaka Kambon, by the way, and it's a pleasure to share this time with you.
Go up against gangs in Haiti. The capital city's been racked by heavy fighting as ordinary people armed with machetes and stones attempt to take down the gangs that rule Port-au-Prince. All this while a fuel crisis continues and hunger rises. What will it take to bring stability to a country on the brink of civil war? I'm Hazem Sika, and today's newsmaker is Haiti. Haitians have lynched and set alight gang members in the streets. The nightmarish scenes unfolded in the country's coastal capital last week. For many, this uprising is unsurprising as Haitians grow increasingly tired of dealing with gang violence. According to the UN, over 600 people were killed in April in a fresh wave of violence. And with a police force that is unable to cope and a government that's seen to be illegitimate, the people say they have no choice but to take matters into their own hands. Let's take a closer look.
Haiti is on the verge of an abyss as heavily armed gangs expand their control. For months, criminal gangs have been terrorizing Haiti with daily killings, rapes, kidnappings, and looting. They now control about 80% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and some 200 gangs operate around the country. They dictate many aspects of daily life to the communities under their rule, including access to jobs and medical help.
Gang violence is expanding at an alarming rate in areas previously considered relatively safe in Port-au-Prince and outside the capital. The horrific violence in gang-ridden areas, including sexual violence, particularly against women and girls, is emblematic of the terror afflicting much of Haiti's population.
But now Haitians have had enough. Angry with the lack of police presence, locals are now taking matters into their own hands. Armed with machetes, bottles, rocks, and other makeshift weapons, Haitians have fought back against the encroaching gangs.
The gang invaded us here from the top of the hills at 2 a.m. Bullets were raining down everywhere, and they surrounded the area. Women and children did not know where to go, so we took out our machetes and threw stones, and they dispersed.
Last month, suspected gang members were lynched, stoned, and burned alive in a string of vigilante killings.
If the gangs come to invade us, we will defend ourselves. We have our own weapons. We have our machetes. We will take their weapons. We will not run away.
The UN says insecurity in Haiti's capital is similar to a war zone. The Caribbean country, already suffering from rising violence and an economic crisis, spiraled out of control after the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in July of 2021. Since then, gangs have violently exploited the power vacuum. But they do not exist in isolation. Since the 1980s, politicians have tolerated and used gangs and even armed them to intimidate the opposition and collect money and votes. But what makes this current crisis unprecedented is that Haiti today has no functioning political institutions and no president, simply an interim prime minister, who himself has not been ratified by the law. Ariel Henry is seen by most Haitians as an illegitimate leader after the government failed to hold parliamentary and municipal elections to renew the mandate. The breakdown of Haitian democracy and its institutions has made it impossible to confront the warring factions all on its own. And now Haiti's government and the UN have called for an international force to support the police in their struggle against the gangs.
Haiti is in danger, and it urgently needs the assistance of the United Nations families to make it through this turbulence.
And as large portions of the capital and much of the country have become lawless, residents are caught in the middle.
Joining me now from Port-au-Prince is Jude Jonatas. He is a Deputy Director of Programs at Mercy Corps, a US-based aid charity in Haiti. Thank you for being with us. So your organization, in its findings, has called the current situation in Haiti as being on the brink of civil war. Tell us why.
Yeah, the organization Mexico is working in Haiti since 2010. So we would like to raise the voice from the Asian population, because the situation it's really fragile, it's really complex. We would like to raise the voice of the Asian population. It's why we write this article to explain to the world what is the situation in Haiti now. And currently, the situation is still fragile, volatile, and so each time we have this opportunity to raise the voice for the Asian population, we are doing our best to make it.
Now, at the top of the program, as we were saying, the people who have taken on these gangs with their own violent reprisals have said that they had no choice. Was this inevitable?
Yeah, because the population, it's really feel they have no support. So it's like the population identify by themselves now the bandit or the gang army, and they are trying to defend themselves. And because it's like more than 1 year they are in this situation, and they don't really see any issue for them. So now, die today, die tomorrow, it's same. It's now the population is taking their own responsibility to kill the bandit, kill the gang, but it's really dangerous also.
So what's the solution going forward then?
Oh, it's a complex question, because this crisis, it's not today. Now we have a conjunctural problem. The security and the hunger are the most urgent problem, I can say. But we have some structural problem also, like governance, corruption, justice, economic. We have to take time. I don't believe in a magical solution. I don't believe in a quick solution. But now the security, the hunger are the main issue we have to address. But we can do that by themselves, the Asian population. We need also support from international community. All the actors involved in this crisis have to sit down and to reflect about solution for Haiti. The solution should be led by the national actors. But as I said before, we can't do that by themselves. It's not a Asian affairs now. It's not only an Asian problem now. We have also the involvement from the international community. It's why I say all the actors involved in this crisis, they have to sit down and to reflect for Haiti. What is the solution for Haiti? They have to involve the local actors. They have to see what is good for Haiti. And it's a conjunctural problem and it's a structural problem. In the short term, we have to address the security, we have to address the hunger we are facing now. But in the long term, we have to see deep solution like governance, like justice, like economy. We have to address the long-term solution. But all the actors should sit down together and see what they can bring for Haiti in terms of solution of this crisis.
Clearly, a huge amount of complex problems there to tackle. Jude, Jonatas, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, joining me now to debate this are from Los Angeles, Jamima Pierre. She is a professor in the Department of African American Studies and the Department of Anthropology at the University of California. Monique Kleska joins us from Miami, a Haitian journalist and a civil society activist. And in New York, we have Brian Concannon, a lawyer and board member at the Institute for Justice and Democracy in Haiti. Good to have you all with us. Jamima Pierre, if I could start with you then. What has brought us to this point in Haiti? What are the conditions that have fueled the current situation as you see it?
Well, I'm glad you asked this question because nothing happens in Haiti in a vacuum. What has brought us to this position is the fact that Haiti is under occupation by a foreign force, foreign entities. So you have a coup d'etat that was established back in 2004. You've had a UN occupation, a UN office in Haiti, the BNU office. The UN was in Haiti for 17 years and left an office behind. They're the ones in the core group that make decisions for Haiti. And then you have all of this behind. You have the US and Canada and France that actually support an illegitimate, that impose an illegitimate government and then support this illegitimate so-called government on the Haitian people. So we cannot understand this violence without understanding the root causes of this violence, and which is US and Western imperialism in Haiti. And we have to know that Ariel Henry, who's an illegitimate and unelected prime minister of Haiti, was installed against the wishes of the people, against the people's solution that people came up with, the civil society. So we have to understand that. And if it's not the US support for this illegitimate government, if it's not for the elite groups that allow the guns to be brought into these private ports, because Haitians don't produce their own guns. And if we don't think about the broader context of that kind of foreign interference in Haiti, we cannot understand clearly what's going on in Haiti.
Monique Kleska, is that how you see it? That foreign interference, whether it's from the UN or the US and other countries, has fueled the current situation that we're seeing there?
Absolutely. And let me add that there is right now, there has been for the last 11 years, a criminal organization that is at the head of the country. So there is, it's called PHTK, that is the name of the party, and that has been running Haiti: corruption, impunity, arm trafficking, people trafficking, etc. So I think it's important to know this. And it is also important to know that this criminal organization functions with the gangs, because I saw lots of images of people with machine guns, etc., with the gangs, with the support of the gangs, and also with the support of white-collar bandits who fuel the gang epidemic, who fuel the arms trafficking. So it's important to know this. This is not an haphazard thing. So you have the international community, you have the powers that be in Haiti, that is a criminal organization that is working with the gangs and also with the white collar economic and political sector. And what we have now is that we have the civil society organization that I'm part of has proposed a solution. We have proposed what is called the Montana Agreement the last 2 years, since August 30th, 2021, just really 1 month after Jovenel Moïse died, because we had been working on it, which is an agreement that proposes a 2-year going forward transition, a transition that can clean up the space, remove the criminal elements, But what we have the international community with the UN standing there and saying, no, we do not want this. What we want is the criminal organization to continue. And I think these are important parameters to look at when one looks at the Haiti problem, whether it is the immediate problem, whether it is a systemic problem. It's important to have that as the background of criminal organization, international community, economic elite, and the gangs. So I think these are the things that are the parameters by which we can analyze and then look for the solution that we have proposed.
Brian Concaran, what do you see as the way forward then? Is there a way for the international community to work with groups in Haiti to resolve this in kind of the same way that Monique has talked about there?
There certainly is. The explanation that Monique and that Professor Pierre gave of the problem, which is basically the international community supporting a corrupt, repressive regime that's dismantling democracy, that's uncontroversial in Haiti, except for government supporters. But outside of Haiti, especially in the United Nations and especially in the United States, there is a refusal to engage with that basic reality. The solution to Haiti is democracy. I mean, that sounds simplistic, but that really is the solution. It worked in the 1990s. I lived in Haiti from 1995 and 2004. I was there for part of that time with the United Nations. I saw Haitians building their democracy. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't gangs running the country. The international community actually supported that, and it worked. The international community knows how to support democracy. Haitians are able to establish democracy given the chance. But since 2004, when the U.S. and other members of the international community helped overthrow Haiti's democracy, we've never reached the level of security, of democracy, of education, of anything that Haiti had during its democratic interlude. And what the international community needs to do is first to just step back, to stop propping up the corrupt, repressive government, allow a transitional government that has legitimacy to come in, and then allow that government to ask how the international community can help, because only a legitimate government has the power and the legitimacy to decide how best the international community can support Haiti's democracy. We've tried everything else. We've tried every form of supporting repression. It's time to support democracy.
Is there, just to pick up on that, Brian, is there a political will among the international community to do that right now?
Clearly not. There's a political will of the international community to do everything it can to avoid addressing the fundamental issue of they're supporting a corrupt, repressive government that they installed. And it is disconcerting when you look at UN debates, when you look at debates within the U.S. government, that there's an absolute refusal to recognize the reality that Haitians recognize broadly on the ground, and that Professor Pierre and Monique have explained to us.
Just turning back to the current situation in Haiti itself, and if I could put this to you, Jemima Pierre, as horrific as many of these stories have been of people taking matters into their own hands, as it were, the lynchings, the bodies being burned as they retaliate against these gangs, they have galvanized many people and offered them hope, even as it's done through more violence. What do you make of that?
Well, I think people are coming together and taking care of each other, and it's problematic actually to even presenting this as vigilante violence as if it's something that is just that is just completely being done out of the context of organization. The people know that they do not have a government to support them, and the neighborhoods are banding together to protect each other, and so that's what we're seeing. And so I actually disagree with this calling this thing a civil war, because a civil war is a very different kind of set of violence against the state and non-state actors. These are a bunch of communities coming together to protect themselves from foreign armed young men. And so I think I think that's an important distinction that we need to make. The other thing that's is going on is, if you look at the UN meetings on Haiti, who represents Haiti at these meetings? It's the BNU office, the UN office in Haiti, whose mandate actually to me is illegitimate. We don't have Haitians speaking on behalf of Haitians. We have foreigners speaking on behalf of foreigners, and it's just really problematic. The other thing about violence I have to really bring up is this: no one talks about the spectacular violence. So you can show images of Haitians carrying machetes, but you're not showing images of, the 10 to 30,000 people that were killed by the cholera that the UN occupation brought to Haiti, or the violence of the elite groups, or the violence of the US government working with the state to remove fuel subsidies and to make poverty even worse on the people. To me, the worst kinds of poverty are the worst kinds of violence are the violence of poverty and disease and the inability of the international community to leave Haiti alone. That violence is also, to me, even worse than what we're seeing in Haiti on the ground. And so I think what's going on right now, people are taking care of themselves when they don't have access to other means. And I think we should support democracy, as Brian says, in Haiti, and we need to get the international community who caused the problem out of Haiti.
Monique Kleska, is there a risk that these vigilante groups could eventually become gangs themselves? And is there a fear that they could morph into something resembling the gangs?
I am not sure that I would call them vigilante groups, and I think that really is a stretch. What we have is, we have neighborhoods that have been under threat. People have been raped, people have been killed, people have been maimed, people have been burned. And finally, some of them have risen up and said, you know what, enough is enough. So let's not call them vigilante groups. That's not what it is. It is a population that has suffered enough. And one day it has said, you know what? I am going to defend myself. Do not come into my house. Do not come into my neighborhood. So these are not vigilante groups. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, the right to self-defense is inherent in every constitution, and it is inherent in every human rights manual. So this is what is going on. So let us be extremely clear about what is going on. Now, having said this, I think what we have at the Montana Group proposed a solution 2 years ago with a roadmap, a Haitian solution where we sat down with every political party, with civil society organizations to try to find a consensus agreement. And in this consensus agreement, the idea is to have a transition of 2 years to level the playing field so that these criminal organizations can be done away with, so that we can actually breathe easier, we can actually move forward easier. And with this, then, within this roadmap that we have, elections are part of the roadmap, but they are down the line, because right now, nothing can be done in Haiti because the violence is so overwhelming, and it is a state violence. It is a terror that is instilled by the state with its people, with its gangs, etc. So I think we have to be very clear about this. And the whole wording of civil rights, a civil war also, has no value in Haiti. We are not in a civil war. We are not, this is not what's happening. We have a population that has been under threat, under violence of armed, terrifying gangs. And finally, some of the population has said, you know what? I'm rising up. I don't want to accept this anymore. We don't have two factions like in Sudan, or in other places. There is no threat of civil war in Haiti. We are the population under threat by the state and by its armed gangs. So I think one has to really kind of shift. Semantics are important. The narrative is important. So we are not in a civil war. These are not vigilante groups. These are populations, some of them who are rising up and saying, enough is enough. I'm tired of dying without doing anything. So I think one has to really kind of look at it in the framework of a population trying to defend itself, one, and secondly, civil society organizations that have proposed a Haitian solution that is called the Montana Accord. It's on the table for the last 2 years. We have tried to reach consensus. We are pushing it, and this is a solution to Haiti's some of the structural problems as well as some of the immediate problems.
Okay. I just want to give what's probably going to be the last word on this to Brian Concaran. How do you see things playing out then in the short term?
There's no short-term solution to Haiti. I'm afraid that in the short term, if things are going to continue to get worse. The optimist in me is that in at least the medium term, there'll be enough political pressure exerted on the international community, especially from people in the United States, but also France and other countries that are behind this policy of supporting the repressive regime, and that people in countries like mine will force our government to give Haitians a chance. And I'll note, just to follow up on what Monique said, when the Montana Accord put out their accord 2 years ago, the critique from the international community was that the road back to democracy they were proposing was too long, that the 2 years they proposed, just Haiti couldn't wait that long. We're now a few weeks shy of that 2 years, and not only has Haiti not slowly moved towards democracy, it's moved quickly away. And this needs to be a wake-up call to the international community that they need to give Haitians a chance. Haitians have suffered enough.
That is going to have to be the last word. Thanks very much to all three of you for being with us. Jemima Pierre, Monique Kleska, and Brian Concaran. And thanks for watching. You remember you can follow us on Twitter and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Hazem Sika. See you next time.
Yes, if you're just joining us, you are here, part of the Kwame Ture Memorial Lecture Series 2023. And we just saw a devastating, something that could only be described as a devastating indictment of the role of the international community in overthrowing Haitian democracy and attempting to maintain what could possibly be called a sham democracy, in spite of the efforts of Haitian people, and of course the identification of what we might call a core group of countries that is, functioning in this capacity to undermine Haitian democracy: Canada, France, and of course the United States of America. Now I want to bring in my good dear brother, one of the special involved intellectuals of our country, Brother Roel Gibbons, who is going to share with us a presentation of his on the subject. And when we return from that, we are going to go deeper into to discuss some of the issues that were raised here in this film and, of course, in his presentation. So let me just quickly, for those of you who are not familiar with Brother Roel Gibbons, he was born in Belmont in Freetown, Trinidad and Tobago. He is a playwright, director, and educator. He has taught at the School of Drama in Jamaica with Mr. Dennis Scott, and at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, as the founding coordinator of the Center for Creative and Festival Arts. His directing, devising credits include CLR James's The Black Jacobins, which of course is very relevant to today's discussion, Temple in the Sea, Shango, Tales of the Orisha, and Derek Walcott's Drums and Colors, and of course, Nation Dance, The Pilgrimage. He has published 2 volumes of his plays, a Calypso trilogy, and Love Trilogy. In 2014, Brother Gibbons founded Caribbean Yard Campus, a network for the development of Indigenous Caribbean education. He currently leads this project, and I would add to that he has always been an ardent defender of Haiti and the people of Haiti. Brother Royal Gibbons.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rebecca. And greetings all. Good afternoon. I think the film is very important. And I'm glad that we'll be discussing it a little later. But I want to make 3 observations on it. The first is, which are relevant to what I wanted to deal with today, I'll be dealing with today. The first is the unasked question in those interviews, right? And that is, why is it that the core group is not listening to Haitians? Right? It's not a question that was explored at all, but it's a question that we need to ask ourselves. Right? It's very evident from the days of Aristide and even before that Haitians have the capabilities, the capacities to run their own country. Why is it that the international community denies them that opportunity? You've got to look at that. And 2 of the points that were brought up in the interview about the people taking care of themselves. I think that's very important. You have to understand that is part of the ethos of Haiti, and it reflects upon the absence of the first question. And also, the third point, the role of the media in defining a certain perception of Haiti. In this case, they're talking about civil war, and of course the panelists, all of them, refuted that observation. And that matters because I think that what I would like to address today, because of who I am and what the work I've been involved in, is really the perception of Haiti. I found this to be the most important obstacle in the work that we've been doing. I mean, you mentioned Black Jacobins. I started with Black Jacobins and being conscious of the importance of Haiti back in 1975 when I did the first production of that play in the Caribbean. That was in Mona, Jamaica, while I was still a student. And then, went on from there. So we'll talk more about that. But the whole question of this perception, and it's something, of course, that James recognized, CLR James himself, which is why he wrote what he wrote, the history of Haiti, the true history of Haiti in the Black Jacobins, change our perception of what that is. In my view, Haiti is the past and therefore the future of the Caribbean, right? I see Haiti as the past and therefore the future of the Caribbean. The Caribbean itself, I see as ourselves as an ongoing revolution. When I say Haiti as the past, I see Haiti as we know, as the culmination of the historic revolts. It wasn't the first. Those revolts started with the indigenous people. Once the Europeans arrived here and started to claim the land and take possession of the people and the territories, the revolt started. But the culmination of that, moving through the indigenous people, moving through the Garifuna, the Black Carib War in St. Vincent, and so on, the culmination was the Haitian Revolution. Right? So we have to see that. And it was a victorious culmination. So we have to see the Caribbean as beginning in terms of an ongoing revolution as a triumphal space of victory over slavery, and the birthing of freedom. Right? There was no other country where African people, Black people, were free in the Western Hemisphere. Haiti was the place, and therefore people flocked to Haiti. So we have to see that. We have to see Haiti in that sense as I put it, not only the culmination, but therefore our first example, and perhaps our only example to date, of Black power. Okay, I want to say that because what we are talking about here is an ongoing revolution and an ongoing, therefore, conflict as a result of that. Okay, conflict takes different forms all the time, but it's always there. And it's not only Haiti, it's the definition, I believe, of what the Caribbean is. But we need to explore, therefore, the idea of what is Haiti. So I want to talk about my own perception of that, and then talk about what is presented to us. Okay? So it began with the revolution. Haiti is a revolutionary part of the start, the culmination of that ongoing revolution that we are as Caribbean people, as a Caribbean civilization. We have to see ourselves as in a process of change, of moving towards something that we have not yet found. Right? That began with Haiti, in the modern sense of the word. I don't mean contemporary, I mean modern sense of the word, and that continues. The Caribbean as a space and as a people striving to be themselves, to be ourselves. Okay? And that's revolution. And I say beginning or culminating with Haiti because Haiti opened the space for freedom. That is what Haiti meant. And it was freedom for people, African people, from territories that were where they were enslaved. People came to Haiti. They migrated from America to Haiti. They migrated from Jamaica. They ran away from Jamaica to Haiti. And so on. Haiti was that free space. And once you arrived in Haiti, once you touched the ground, you were free. Right? And the instances of Jamaicans coming over, enslaved Jamaicans coming over, and when they were pursued and they were harbored in Haiti, because there was no Haitian, no one arriving there in Haiti was anybody's property. Okay, so we need to establish that and to understand our beginnings in that sense, in terms of this ongoing revolution in freedom and victorious freedom. Okay, victorious struggle. But the Haiti meant more than that. It was the freedom. That freedom was defined because of the nature of the society and the nature of the times in terms of blackness. So that was a second important point of what Haiti means. The idea of blackness, not as an ethnic category, but as a political category. In the 1804 constitution that Dessalines wrote, all Haitians were by definition black. It didn't matter what was your ethnicity. Okay, to be Haitian, whether you were mulatto, whether you were white, because there were some soldiers and so on, mercenaries from Europe who came to fight with Napoleon, but joined the Haitian forces of liberation, of revolution, and they became citizens. They were all black by political definition. Okay, so Haiti, in establishing its state, confronted what we are still dealing with today. You need to validate the idea of blackness, yeah? Which has to be seen as more than just the color of skin. We know that it's not just the color of skin. Okay? Haiti dealt with it in its own way. Right? And the idea of blackness as a concept was therefore, Haiti was therefore able to hand that down. People in the subsequent generations, Aimé Césaire, drawing on and evolving, and Senghor, talking about in the 1930s, negritude, the idea of negritude, picked up the idea in notion of blackness as and what it is, and exploring that and establishing the validity and the beauty of it. And of course, that is the notion that we in the 70s talked about. We say black is beautiful, and it's a notion that we're still being challenged, right? And therefore, we've got to. I'm saying that Haiti was the beginning of that. You have got to understand that in terms of what it is when we're talking about Haiti. All right. We've also got to see that Haiti, in becoming a republic, was able to place that blackness and the dignity of that blackness and the beauty of that blackness on the world stage. Okay, it wasn't just a question of an abstraction. All right? Haitians, from the time of Toussaint, frankly, before they became a republic, had an intellectual tradition. You could say that Toussaint was the first black intellectual the Caribbean produced. He was a soldier, a strategist, the best of them all. But he was also, when you look at his letters, this is what James exposes to us. You see that he was an intellectual as well. As most of our intellectuals are, they're men of action, as well as men of thought. Yeah, there's no dichotomy. They're involved with political change, they're involved with creative work, they're involved with promulgating ideas, creating thought, producing ideas. Yeah, so Toussaint could be seen as the first, but he wasn't the only one, right? In establishing itself as a state, Haiti had to defend blackness intellectually. It had to argue for it. And two of its important early, apart from Toussaint, two of its important who symbolized that. Two of them, it's important intellectuals. One in the Baron de Bastille in 1807. He was Dessalines' secretary. And he wrote a defense of black people, black men as being equal to all races. Right? This was also the argument that a more famous intellectual, Haitian intellectual, Antenor Fermé, wrote in his book, The Equality of the Human Races, which was published around the same time, actually, as John Jacob Thomas's Fraudacity. This was published in 1885. Fraudacity was 1886. And although in Fraudacity, Thomas talks about Haiti as uncivilized, really, right? The evidence is there that it wasn't. That Haiti was producing international figures, creating thought. In fact, when Sylvester Williams had his Pan-African conference in 1900, Henry Sylvester Williams, and Foreman attended it, right? So Haitians were on the international stage. Once they gained recognition by France, they were on the international stage and arguing intellectually, writing about the equality of the races. So I want to be established that a strong intellectual tradition. Of course, it didn't end there. It continues right down to today. And the writers that come out of Haiti and so on, get Pentecost and whatnot. So we need to establish that. We also need to establish that when we ask ourselves what Haiti represents, the idea of Haiti, we also need to understand that there were two Haitis. There's the urban Haiti, Haiti of Port-au-Prince, and the cities of the north and so on, Lecan and whatnot, but also the rural Haiti. And because the peasants of Haiti own their land, Haiti was able to establish through those peasants, and because they were isolated as well, an economy, a peasant economy that was an alternative to the plantation economy. Okay, it was a peasantry. It was not like Trinidad and Barbados and so on, where all the land was owned by plantation owners. Right? They had an independent life. Okay, and that was an alternative. It was an alternative not only in terms of the economy, but the lifestyle that was created there. And this is still central to Haitians, to the Haitian existence. The lakou. We know the term lakou. In Trinidad, the yard, lakou harp, and so on, right, in the past, but it's retained in Haiti. The lakou, which is a symbol of community life. It is community life, not a symbol. That is what it is. Right? It is the ground that where people come from, where they go to for sustenance. Okay? It is their religion. It is voodoo. It is their work, conbit, what we call gayap. It is communal living at its core. That is what Haiti meant. And it's out of all of that, of course, that the art, music, and all of that was generated. But Haiti meant something else as well. Apart from the ideology of blackness, the economy, the freedom that was declared, it was also the space where freedom was propagated. So Haiti became what Cuba was in the 20th century. Haiti was in the 19th century. right? The inspiration for the liberation movements within the region and further afield. Okay. From time Toussaint took over, James tells us again, right? His plan was to send soldiers to Africa to liberate people from the slave trade. That was Toussaint's plan. And we know, of course, that both Jose Marti of Cuba and Simon Bolivar visited Haiti. In fact, Simon Bolivar got support when Haitian soldiers were sent to Venezuela in his campaigns to liberate South America and unite South America. So Haiti was a very crucial space, right, as an idea. And I'm saying that the fact that Haiti will not be released by the core group, I'm going back now to the question that was not asked about why it is that they're not listening to Haitians. The fact that they're not listening to Haitians, it's because Haiti remains dangerous to white power. And I'm saying white power also as a category. As against an ethnicity. Western power, right? I'm not saying that it doesn't need democracy, but we agree on that. But it has to be in its own form. Okay? And the idea of Black power represented by Haiti in all the aspects that I told you about, its own independence, economic, self-sustainability, and so on. It's the ideology of Blackness that it represented, notion of freedom, everyone being free, which is still not so, and being equal, which people are still not treated in that way. All of that Haiti represented was anathema. And therefore Haiti had to be crushed. And it was crushed by isolation, several years, as we know. In its early years, it had to pay an enormous indemnity to France, 16 million francs, to get recognition, international recognition. You had the US occupation between 1915 and 1934, which still continues today. One of the panelists made the point that he have to see Haiti as being occupied. In this case, not only by well, it's the core group, really. Not only by the US, but France, the UN is part of that, Canada, and so on. These are the people who make the decisions about Haiti. And no matter what is said, what the politicians say, what they come here and they say all kinds of things about, they know very well that why they are there. It's not just they're not protecting Haiti from Cuban communism or any such thing. It has to do with denying what Haiti represents. It is the media has told us, and they continue to tell us, that Haiti is the poorest region in the poorest country in the hemisphere. Remember that? That was all that we knew about Haiti. All that we knew about Haiti in the 60s and so on was that it was the poorest country in the hemisphere. That's all that we knew. Because the media was part of that idea of reconfiguring the reality of Haiti in the same way that Hollywood did it, by making it voodoo land. So we have to see how those forces were aligned to reinvent what the Haiti that I described earlier was. But I say that Haiti is both the past and the future of the Caribbean. And I say it is the future because we to become who we are, to achieve the potential of the ongoing revolution that culminated in that part of it that culminated in 1804, requires that we engage Haiti as Caribbean people, specifically, existentially, and creatively. That is what I mean when I say that we cannot become who we are without engaging Haiti, because Haiti is at our core. The challenge Haiti is thrown out to us. And we've got to move past saying, Haiti, I'm sorry. That is one point of recognition. Then doing something about it. Right? And I guess when we talk, we will, probably explore what options there are and so on. But I want to talk a bit about because we never really have that much time, but to talk about really what the course that we've taken. Right? Myself as a theater person in this engagement, I mentioned that I was introduced really to Haiti through the Black Jacobins, and did the play that C.L.R. James wrote in 1975. I did it on two other occasions. I did it in 79 as well in QRC, and C.L.R. James. C.L.R. James saw the production there, and there are reviews about it, and so on. And I did it the third time at Shazando, Panyard, in 1993. And that is when Lloyd Best started the campaign of protest against the removal of Aristide. So there was a campaign, and the contribution that we made then at the Center for Creative and Festival Arts was the production. So it was a very contemporary production of Black Jacobins. I think I have an image of it, if we can bring it up. But just to show you what we think. But if it can come up, that'd be fine. If not, that doesn't. But we did that. So that was one form of engagement, and particularly that last production of it, where we sought to make the action of James's play contemporary. Right? So it was interfused. It was located within Haiti at the time of Aristide's removal. Okay. And the play was given that context, and it merged out of it. So that was the way in which we dealt with it. The audience signed a statement, okay, which was forwarded to Haiti. Okay, so there was that. Subsequent to that, with the earthquake in 2010, we were given the opportunity to further engage Haiti, because there were, through the university itself, very good gesture. Yes, the Black Jacobins, that's the earlier one I was talking about. Through the university itself, students from the university in Haiti, Port-au-Prince, were brought and distributed to various campuses on the Caribbean, at the University of the West Indies. So we had some students here, and we engaged them to find out about Haiti, right? And to collaborate in the work that we were doing. And that was a very rich period for us. It has lasted up to today, the contacts that we made at that particular point in time. But one of two important things at that period, that was the 2011 and 2015. One was the production that we did of another Haitian work. We called it "Here's My Ass, Now Whip It." which was a series of, it was taken from a number of interviews, testimonies by, this is also the Black Jacobins document that, as I say, we made it contemporary. All right, so refer to Haiti. There was also the Grenada thing and so on. Grenada, whatnot. All that was at that particular point in time. But the other exercise, the Here's My Ass Now Whip It, that particular production, dealt with the women's stories in the post-Aristide period. Okay. This one that we are seeing on the screen is the third production. It's not a production really. It's the third outcome, again from the Haitian contact that we had. But this was 2015 when Haitians in the Dominican Republic were denied citizenship. All right, they had been living there, some of them had been born there and so on, and they were suddenly stateless. So we mounted a protest. The name that we called ourselves at that time, but it came out of the contact with Haitians, Haitian students, was Juve IT. So we formed an organization comprising the Lloyd Best Institute, Shazando Pan Theatre, Shazando Steel Band, and Studio 66 Community Arts Community Arts Center, to calling ourselves Juve IT, right? That is it there. And we had a protest demonstration, which had some effect. Right? We used mass as our form of protest because that is where we started. That was the bridge that we built with Haiti. Haiti had a carnival, we had a carnival. So that became the bridge. But we created what we called mass action, which was to use mass in protest, all right, as a form of activism. And there we are in front of the Dominican Republic Embassy. And I think it was effective because the issue was taken up. It may not have changed the status of Haitians, mind you, but the issue was taken up politically. Ralph Gonzalez was there because this was at a CARICOM meeting, and he brought the issue to the table. And I think it received attention, let us put it that way, at least at the CARICOM level. So there was that. Finally, the configuration that we that we now have is Caribbean Yard campus, where we are again strengthening our links with Haiti. All right, we have started with the students who came here. We still have those links, but we've built out on that. Right? In that we are engaging. We have a yard. Caribbean Yard campus is a network of yards. Yards being spaces of traditional knowledge, where traditional knowledge is preserved and produced. And so we have, we deal with people with indigenous medicine, bush medicine. We run courses in that. We deal with Creole. We run courses in Creole or Patois here. Traditional forms of agriculture and so on, a wide range of courses. I'm just talking now about the Haiti aspect of it, where we have a yard in Haiti. We have connections there. Sanba Zhao, who is a master drummer, a musician, a teacher at the art school there. We brought him to Trinidad on a couple of occasions. So his yard called Lakou Basilon is our connection in Haiti. We have yards in other countries and so on, our connections. But that's our Haitian connection. And we work together. And we are planning a course in drumming, a certificate course in drumming soon. And in that course, Samba will be teaching. Because we recognize that, the point is that we're recognizing in Haiti and the approach, and this is one of the things we need to say when we talk about Haiti as a pan-Caribbean responsibility. We need to understand that responsibility is not just about giving food and sending old clothes and that kind of thing to Haiti. It's not just about giving to Haiti. We've got to also understand that Haiti has its wealth, right? That we can learn a great deal from Haiti. right? In terms of its culture, in terms of its agriculture, the way in which it has countered the plantation system, which we still have, mind you, still dealing with. Okay? The creativity of necessity and the economy of necessity are all models that we can learn from. Okay? So I think there's a lot that to be gained, and to view our responsibility to Haiti as one that is collaborative, to treat Haitians and ourselves as equal. They're not paupers. Okay, we've got to treat them with equal respect. Right? Part of the Caribbean, and to understand that in doing that, in reaching to the point where we can accept the importance of Haiti to us, because Haiti is an anomaly in the sense that there's no erasure and there's no historical erasure in Haiti. Right? That's something we could learn as well. There's no historical erasure. Haitians know their history. They live it. They're forced to remember it because it's all that they have. You know, when we see that action that's taking place now, Boakale, as the Boakale, what they call Boakale, when the communities rise up and defend themselves, which is what you were talking about in the interview, Boakale. It comes from the notion that which is embedded in Haiti, that it is only themselves they have to rely on. There's no solution other than what Haitians can create themselves. It has nothing to do with the UN and all the rest of it. They can't provide any answers. Right? Haitians have to provide it. And, and other people have to come in on Haitian terms, which is what we try to establish. Okay, so our contact with Haiti is led by Haitians. Okay. So these are things I want to say, that we've got to see it, what we are dealing with, as having to change the perception, the notion of what Haiti is from the outset. Before we can talk about how it is we deal with Haiti, we have to understand that we've got to change that notion. Okay, what it is Haiti is. Right? Let's start there. Okay, thank you.
Well, Brother Rawl, you have raised some probing questions, and of course, you talked about your involvement around this subject, and I don't know if a short presentation could really do it justice, but I was there in 1993 in the Panyard for that brilliant production, and I felt, I experienced the way that energized the Trinidadian population to to look at Haiti more carefully and with more clarity and with a sense of purpose in terms of what we could do to lift that veil of oppression that those people were still under. So it was very, very important work. Sometimes we don't really acknowledge the way that the artists and art can play a role in or do play a role in the conversation, the dialogue that we're having around activism. And so I just want to take this opportunity to thank you and to celebrate the role that you played, not just in 1993, but before and thereafter with Juve Haiti and so on. Very, very important subjects. And now, let's get right into some of the conversations that you raised. Let's go back to that first question and see if we could give it some more. We could flesh it out a little bit more. That question of why the core group is not letting the Haitians decide their own destiny. Why are they so determined to continue to act in Haiti? And in a clandestine way, according to the commentary, Everybody knows that they are operating in Haiti. You could talk to the average Haitian person on the street, and they would tell you that if you want to run for office, particularly the highest offices in the land, you have to go to the foreign offices of these countries and be endorsed by those at those embassies. Within the walls of those embassies, you have to be endorsed. To even have an opportunity. So I mean, let's delve a little bit deeper into this why question. Why the core group is so intent, and of course, just to clarify, this core group is the core group that has given us the idea that Haiti is isolated, and they would have, in some ways, isolated Haiti politically and so on. But economically, they've never left Haiti alone. Right at the very moment of the revolution, while they were busy organizing a kind of international blockade, so to speak, that they would have replicated in Cuba to impoverish Haiti and to bring them to their knees, they had already begun their economic engagement with the country, which was, of course, one of the wealthiest countries in the region, and and they understood that there was a lot there that they could exploit to their own benefit and their own profit. So let's delve a little deeper into that question of the why, Brother Raw. Let me give you a chance to jump.
Well, I mean, I think that I mean, in my view, the central issue is, of course, what I mentioned, the fact that the idea of black power that Haiti represented was itself, and that remains, was itself something that could not be allowed to survive. There were other factors.
But let's explore that idea. Let's not jump from that idea right away.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about this idea of freedom that Haiti actually represented, so we can help the audience to understand. You and I, we sort of know what that means, but there are a lot of people who might be just tuning in and trying to understand Haiti who wouldn't quite understand what this idea of freedom was. So let's put some of the things on the table.
Right. You have to see that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Let me drop one, and then you come right.
Yeah.
One of the things that stands out to me is that, out of all the countries in the region, Haiti is the only one where the original name of the country was returned to that country. So the Africans took over, and rather than naming it in a European fashion, Little Congo, or or giving it a name from one of the African countries that they came from, they sought to understand the space in which they were, to acknowledge that it was an indigenous American space, and to give that country back to the people symbolically.
Yes.
So what they were doing right there was acknowledging the full humanity of the human family in its entirety, something that the white supremacist world of the time, the imperialist world of the time, the colonial world of the time, did not acknowledge. They developed a sense of, they developed all these documents that spoke to freedom, but that freedom did not include non-white people.
That's right.
Those rights of men didn't include, yes, they didn't include women and so on, but they also didn't include anybody who was a person of color who was defined politically as black.
And Haiti was the antithesis to that.
The antithesis to that.
Absolutely.
The emancipation process itself, Roll. Have you looked at have you contrasted the emancipation process that the Haitians engaged in, or like we could call it the liberation process, with the emancipation process that we were put through in the English-speaking Caribbean? Have you given that any thought?
Well, I mean, the Haitians, of course, took theirs.
Right.
They took their emancipation. Right. That was the revolution. Right. Of course, there were a lot of revolts, mind you. I mean, it's not as though we sat down in the rest of the Caribbean, and a lot of these revolts were, in fact, inspired by Haiti.
Yes.
So Haiti was present in a lot of ways in the rest of the Caribbean. You know, in the 1807 revolt in Trinidad. Well, it was a conspiracy. It wasn't a revolt actually. It was a conspiracy that was unearthed in Diego Martin. But the song that was sung was about the blood of the white man. I shall drink the blood of the white man. The blood of the white man is my wine, right?
What?
And the flesh of the white man is my bread, and so on. Sandomang, Sandomang. That was the song that people were singing. So Haiti had that impact on all of us.
Yeah.
Of course, by 1833, emancipation was proclaimed. Right?
It's the proclamation of emancipation that I'm interested in getting at.
Yeah.
In Haiti, the people who the so-called planters were considered to be not be property owners who were being deprived of their property, but criminals. Slavery was considered a criminal act, a crime against humanity in the Haitian Constitution and the Haitian Declaration of Independence. And so the planters were not therefore eligible for compensation. It was the people who had been the victims of the crime and not the perpetrators of the crime. So let's just, if you take that out, and you move it forward. This is one thing. You look at the way our landscape is configured, and all around us, we honor, celebrate, and commemorate the slave masters. That comes out of the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared that they were legitimate business owners of property that was being taken away from them. Whereas in Haiti, they were declared to be criminals. And in fact, in that constitution by Jean-Jacques Dessalines, they were not allowed ever to be owners of property in Haiti.
Well, Well, white foreigners were not allowed to own property in Haiti. White people were not allowed to own property in Haiti up until the occupation, the American occupation. Right, that changed. It changed there. But the thing is that, of course, the way in which Haiti wanted its freedom implied that there could be no question of property and reparations for slave owners, right? But mind you, that is not the view of the slaveholding world.
Exactly.
That was exactly the basis on which France imposed its indemnity. The fact that they had lost property.
Exactly.
And Haiti still had to pay.
Yeah, so the point is that when Haiti articulated its independence, its liberation, it gave us a blueprint for what a just emancipation would look like. Today, when we talk about reparations, what we're really saying is we're going back to the blueprint for a just emancipation that we were given partly by our own intellectuals, people like Oluda Equiano and Otoba Kuguano in the United Kingdom, who were abolitionists, and partly which was reflected in the revolution of Haiti. So that idea of a just emancipation, which the Western world was not yet ready to accept, in which a lot of the values that they held would have to be turned on their heads. Where slave masters would now be criminals. It would be wrong to have committed genocide against the indigenous people and to have arbitrarily renamed all their countries. How bizarre is that? We don't really think of it. We celebrate living in Trinidad and Tobago and St. Lucia and Grenada today without really giving a second thought to the fact that these countries had their original names. Some countries, like St. Lucia, for example, have started to place the original name next to the name of the country. So, but it's interesting the way that the radical idea of freedom that Haiti represented.
That's right, and
there was no apprenticeship, for example.
That's right.
There was no transitionary period. No, what you call what we these things we take for granted. The regime of privileges that were given to the former oppressors in all the emancipations across the Western world. There was none of that in Haiti, and so Haiti had to be shut down. I think the point that you're making there for the benefit of our listeners. I think the other question that you raise is the role of the media in the perception, in creating the perception of Haiti that we have, and we might want to delve into a bit more. That perception that people have of Haiti as
Yes.
a sort of desperate country with desperate people who can't govern themselves, as something that was deliberately manufactured. They set out from the very beginning to do so. I want to share a quick fact with people that they may not be aware of, and that has going back to the 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 Congress of Vienna, 1815, where the France negotiated with all the other European powers to use, and I quote, whatever means possible, including that of arms, to regain Saint-Domingue or to bring the population of that country to order. And I think that the world order, the agreement, and they got that agreement. They got all the European powers, including North America, to work with them, to support them in their efforts to refuse to acknowledge Haitian freedom. And from then, you've had this international plot, to work against Haiti by, in their words, whatever means possible.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly. I
You know?
mean, Haiti was a threat, right? And that's why I said that Haiti remains dangerous in that respect. Not dangerous. Of course, it is. There's violence, and that's going on in the street now. So it is physically dangerous.
Yeah. When
But
you did Black
at the same time, it
January,
is politically dangerous in that
yeah.
sense. To the regime.
Before we, I don't know how much time we have left. I don't want to spend too much time on history. I want to get around to coming back to the present. But the history is so fascinating in Haiti. You talked about Toussaint Louverture as the intellectual, something that history is now coming around to sort of recognize. Just yesterday, the UK Guardian published a piece which pointed to the fact that the metallurgic process, which was so central to the Industrial Revolution in Britain, was actually taken from Jamaica,
Jamaica.
where 76 Africans were employed in a metallurgy plant, or should I say, enslaved in a metal plant in Jamaica, and they brought their African methods from West Africa and shared them with and utilized them in Jamaica. And when they discovered how revolutionary they were, they took them from Jamaica, stopped them from doing it in Jamaica. A man by the name of Court put his name on the invention, so to speak, which was, of course, from West Africa. And Britain proceeded to to push ahead with their goal of manufacturing supremacy. But I advise everybody to look at that. So we came here with a certain level of genius, and of course, Toussaint really reflected that genius. I just want to read a quick quotation from him here in a discussion that he had with Napoleon, where Napoleon said when he came into power, he told the Haitians he would not take away freedom, but then immediately started plotting to re-enslave them, and told them and had emblazoned in gold letters on the flags of the army of Saint-Domingue at the time. Remember, brave blacks, that the French people alone recognize your freedom and the equality of your rights. And Toussaint responded to him in this way. He said, "It is not a circumstantial freedom conceded to ourselves alone that we want. It is the absolute adoption of the principle that any man born red, black, or white cannot be the property of his life. We are free people today because we are the stronger party. The consul maintained slavery in Martinique and Bourbon, and we will thus be slaves when he will be stronger." That is Toussaint's
Right.
response to this. I think that tells you something of the caliber of the
Yes.
intellect of the man, and of course, by extension, our people in general.
Yes. I think that comes out very strongly in Black Jacobins in James's text. The stature of all the leaders, frankly. Toussaint being the foremost of them, because he's the one that they concentrate on. But when you go to Haiti and you talk to people there, the person that they celebrate is Dessalines.
I'm glad you raised that point.
who is not an intellectual as such, but he was the
Well,
man
I
with the
don't know that
resolve.
you would say that Dessalines. I mean, in the way that we practice our history, Dessalines is sort of removed from. He's both removed from the role that he played as a military general. He is the one who actually defeated the French, then defeated the British. That is and Dessalines was the man in charge. He's not given that credit in the history in the history books. The two largest armies of the two greatest powers in the world, at the military powers at the time,
Yes.
they were defeated not by Toussaint but by Dessalines.
Dessalines.
That's the first thing. And Dessalines also did another revolutionary act when he came into power. When Toussaint took charge, Toussaint was a Roman Catholic, and he made Roman Catholicism the only religion of Haiti. It was Dessalines who took that next step to create a world that we now adopt. Imagine that Haiti was one of the first countries to adopt a space where all religions were equal under Jean-Jacques Dessalines, who's not considered a humanitarian and an intellectual by history. I think the other thing that you get from going to Haiti and for actually engaging the Haitian people is you begin to dispel a lot of the myths in the history. For example, the idea that we grew up with. I mean, I actually, at the University of West Indies, in my first degree, I wouldn't call the name of the lecturer now, but this doctor said to us in class very casually, remarked on the physical features of Toussaint Louverture. That he was ugly. You're familiar with that myth?
Yeah.
They all said it. And
It's there. It's there
when you go to Haiti, the people tell you that Toussaint was actually supremely handsome, and he was also deeply beloved by women across the board in the colony.
Yes.
And they remind you that when he was captured, they found a chest in his room containing many love letters from society women with their locks of hair inside it and so on. So we get a sense of why the colonial historians would go to that extent to brand Toussaint as ugly.
Those are the narratives that we've got to understand. Yes, and I think that's the main point. Shabaka, we've got to understand that those are the weapons that have always been used, all right, to vilify and to degrade, Black people. You would know, of course, that Marcus Garvey, how Marcus Garvey was described, as though he was some kind of ape,
buffoon. Yes,
buffoon.
in my own history books when I was growing up, he was described as a fool, as someone who had a crazy idea that we could, that the continent of Africa could.
So you've got to be aware of those things, and that's why I'm emphasizing the business about perception. About changing the mindset. In other words, how we see things. Okay, which is what I think we are trying to do through the arts, which is what we've tried to do. Yeah, because that's the domain in which we deal with some ideas like these.
Yeah. So let's bring people now into the contemporary situation. Let's go back to this. Let's move away from the history. Of course, we know Haiti gave us liberty, gave us freedom. But not only did they give us freedom, they gave us, in the time that they were able to maintain it for 2 decades, a radical idea of freedom that the world is now coming around. The moral consensus in the world is now shifting towards, with the idea of reparations for the enslaved as opposed to the enslavers, as the clearest kind of thing. Also, with the recognition that these countries had names and that the indigenous people here are not some kind of subhuman people that died off upon contact with Europeans, but they were real human beings with real
Mhm.
lives, just like we African people and Indian people and so on. And that and that those of them who are left here deserve some respect and dignity, in the way that we go about things. So I think there's a lot in there to unpack for another day. But let's come forward now to the contemporary Haiti. The Haiti now that emerges from that punishing, brutal, French-led, international community sanctioned, indemnity, where they have to pay for their own freedom, where they are brought into, I would call a colonial emancipation process, like the ones we endured now. They were forced into that. They have to pay for their own freedom. And of course, the US invades Haiti. I don't remember what year. They went straight to the National Bank, took all the gold out, and 2 days later distributed, put that gold into a bank in New York. Um, they become real actors and players in the 20th century in Haiti alongside France. France is comfortable receiving its money, but the US wants to be part a leading country in the actual exploitation of the people. And then let's come forward now to Aristide, where the Haitian people finally elect democratically elect their own president, and a man who starts building schools, who tries to raise the minimum wage, and he gets kidnapped by the U.S. government in cahoots with the other core group members and taken to Central Africa and South Africa and so on, before being brought back to Haiti with his party outlawed. The most popular party in Haiti at the time, the Family Lavalas Party, outlawed. And from then on, you have this real hard manipulation of the Haitian democracy, so that you have to have the endorsement of, you have to be put into office in Haiti by some kind of external power, and all the democratic institutions are undermined in the country. Let's talk about this contemporary Haiti, because this is the Haiti now. In that vacuum of democracy, we have the emergence of this kind of lawless society.
Yes, we do. We do. Well, the first thing I want to say is that when we're talking about Aristide, we have to go back a bit and to remind ourselves, well, to know, because we weren't around at the time, but before Aristide, in the 1930s, there was another president, Estime, who sought democratic change, who was a popular president, and who tried to build institutions in Haiti, improve education, focus on agriculture, do all those kinds of things that were required to serve the people. Right? But he was hampered by the fact that Haiti had to pay this. The American occupation had to be paid for by Haitians. Let me just make that point. In the same way that Haitians had to pay the France for their freedom, they had to pay the Americans for occupying them, for being there. Because when the Americans came there, they had road schemes, they did some things, right? They built schools, they built community health centers and so on. They built all these things, but it was Haitians who had to pay for it, right? Not one American cent was spent to support Haiti, to do anything in Haiti. It was all Haitians. So all that that public debt really frustrated the efforts for development in Haiti. All right. And of course, with that, then people became dissatisfied and so on and so on. And then you have a Duvalier coming into power. Right. But I'm making that point to say that, to emphasize that, even because we're looking at today, but to emphasize that the capacity for self-government, the capacity for Haitians to determine their own future and to run their own affairs, all Haitians have always expressed that.
Yeah. Let's talk about what it's like. I mean, you've traveled to Haiti. When was the last time you were in Haiti?
Not about 2016 or so, it's been some time now.
2016. I was there as well in and around that period there after 2010, after the earthquake and thereafter. Let me say that get going there and actually experiencing Haiti is just a phenomenal experience, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and very humbling,
It
you
is.
know.
It is because you see the humanity of these people that you've been taught to sort of, I'm going to tell a short story, and I'm going to invite you all to tell a story from your own experience for the benefit of the audience, so they get to understand the contemporary Haitian people. This was after the earthquake. I remember I was supposed to go to a wedding, and all the water system had been disrupted by the earthquake, and so you could not find running water in many of the communities. And so myself and the other members of this wedding party had to go to the president's palace, that palace you see on all the images and so on. Behind that palace was the only place that you had a shower in the vicinity. And around that entire palace, you had these massive tent cities with hundreds of people, who had fled their homes to come and stay there for safety. And in the midst of all that, we drove this SUV into the back of the president's palace. Hundreds of people everywhere, absolutely teeming with people. And I have my laptop, my luggage, everything in this car. And we have to walk around a corner where we can't see the car to join a line, wait in line for our opportunity to have fresh water for a shower. And my Haitian colleagues tell me, they say, when I'm going to lock the car and I'm trying to insist that we lock up the car properly because I'm sure everything will be stolen, they say, no, don't worry to lock up the car. And I say, why? They say, you're going to insult the people. So I start calculating, Roll. I say, how much money am I going to lose when I come back and my laptop is gone, fancy shoes, suit. I start calculating. I say, all right, I can take the hit here. I can take the hit there. Maybe not in this area, but I start giving myself a sense of, because you have to prepare for the worst, right?
Yeah. Insurance.
We leave everything in our car. Leave the car doors open, sprawling open in the midst of all this misery, suffering, and strife, hunger, and so on. We walk around the back of the palace, join a line, stand in that line for 25 minutes until we could get our chance to bathe, and then come back to that car, and every single thing was exactly the way we left it. And that tells you all you need to know about the people of Haiti. That would not happen in Port-au-Spain or any other city in the world after such a catastrophe.
I'll tell you, I'm glad you said that, because I'll tell you my story. It wasn't 2016. The last time I was there was with Carrie Fester, whatever year Carrie Fester was. But this was earlier when I was there. I wasn't traveling in an SUV like you. I wasn't in that league.
Did I call that out? You think that's right on a program like this?
Well, I'll tell you, I was traveling with a translator, right? I don't speak Haitian. From Leogane, right, back to Port-au-Prince, and he was sitting. We were traveling on a tap. The
yes,
public transport.
That's what I would use. A man like me, a man of the people. It's just that day.
Yeah. Shabaka. All right. So we were coming in this tap, and he was sitting at the end, at the last seat, right? So of course, the tap is packed,
Yeah.
A lot of people, right? I was inside here. There was when we stopped, stopped at one point, and a woman. It was a Sunday afternoon. A woman comes with a child dressed like for Sunday school now, dressed in this thing, a little girl, and she takes the child and she puts the child on the lap of my interpreter, right? Who was one of the students who was here. That's one of the links that we had, right?
Right.
Puts him on his lap and then tells the child bye, right? So he tap, takes off. And I turned to him, I said, you know this? He said, no. All he does is just hold the child. So tap, go in, he just hold the child, and that's it. And when the child reaches where she's supposed to go, up, and she goes. Now you would never find. That is the community. Right? He doesn't know the woman don't know him, but she knows that if she puts this child there, she'll be safe.
That child will be safe. Incredible, yes. Yes, so
That's
I think,
that's that's
yeah,
that's what
I
we're
think there's
talking
a
about.
lot that would shock people about the humanity in Haiti
So when
if
we're
they had
talking,
the chance to be there. So when we
so when
talk
we're
about our
seeing,
brothers and sisters, yeah,
yeah, what we're seeing now with the violence that's going on there, we have to see that where these people are coming from. That is not the norm.
yes,
That is
that's
by
an
in no way the norm
aberration.
in Haiti.
And
Right?
of
I have
course,
felt safer in Haiti than anywhere else in the
indeed,
world.
indeed, 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 indeed. And I'll tell you, when we see this kind of violence, we know, and this is being articulated by the people on the ground. And this is why just a few months ago, a number of organizations, the Assembly of Caribbean People, my organization, Caribbean Freedom Project Emancipation Support Committee, which I belong to as well, the Joint Trade Union Movement, the Movement for Social Justice, MSJ, and a number of the NGOs for the advancement of women and so on, we all signed on to this document calling on the United States of America, Canada, and France not to invade Haiti militarily, not to push for an invasion of Haiti in this vacuum of law and order that was created by following the death of Moise and the attempt by the United States to install their choice for leader against the wishes of the people. We call on them not to, because the civil society in Haiti said exactly what they said in the interview earlier, that they had come up with their own roadmap for democracy, and that another military intervention into Haiti would set them back. So they really, all of them collectively, reached out to civil society across the Caribbean and asked us to write those governments and to raise the issue of their sovereignty, and to call for our governments in the Caribbean to start to pay more attention to what's happening there, so that those who are involved in interfering with Haitian affairs would not be able to do it with such impunity, and to such an extent against the wishes of the Haitian people. Very, very
I
interesting.
think that's important. I think that's a very important initiative, you know, and to press not to, through our governments, through CARICOM, to press that position. I saw David's letter, the Assembly of Caribbean Peoples. I think it's important. I hope it gets some traction. But I think that is definitely the way to go. And the fact that you're saying that this is in collaboration with, or the source of your action there is really from the civil society groups in Haiti itself.
Yeah, it comes out of
It
Haiti.
comes
What we're
out of
doing,
that.
I
I think
think
that's important.
we have begun to understand, I think, collectively here now, that the solution to the problems in Haiti, according to the Haitian people, is from inside Haiti,
Yep.
and it's not to be directed from outside of Haiti. And I think that the Caribbean community can play a huge role in defending the interests of Haitian people as articulated by Haiti. That's not to say that you don't have at times where civil society can't be dead wrong. I remember when there was a group of Haitian civil society that supported what is his name, La Tortue. You remember that? And they had him, the chosen by the core group, the with civil society in tow,
Well,
transporting them on a tour across the region and so on. Yeah, so
yeah.
Haitian civil society is also not, I suppose, perfect, but Haiti, the people of Haiti, are the ones who have to decide Haitians' destiny and Haitians' future, Haiti's future, Haiti's destiny.
Yeah, we can't work that out for them. They've got to deal with that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and it's important to, I've always felt that there are certain things that CARICOM can do. For instance, it's so difficult. I don't know if any of your organizations ever tried getting Haitians here.
Well, I will tell you a story right now.
Yeah, because
there
it's
was
very difficult.
a famous Haitian artist who is globally famous. I don't remember, his name slips me right now, but he decided to come to exhibit in Trinidad. And he had an assistant who was from Europe. Not even really an assistant. She was a woman who came and sat at his feet, who loved his work, believed in the work that he was doing, started to photograph and document his work and lived in the space, sort of following him around and herself being an artist, learning from him as a kind of, not an assistant, what do you call that? When you're teaching a student.
Well, she's
So
the
both of them applied together to come to Trinidad for his exhibition. They send his work, which is exhibited in St. Clair at one of the galleries in St. Clair. She gets her visa and she comes into the country. And up to the 2-3 days before the exhibition is about to begin, he cannot get into Trinidad and Tobago for
Yeah.
his exhibition. And that's when they call the Emancipation Support Committee,
Yeah.
and they get in touch with me, and I then begin to work behind the scenes with other Trinidadians to get this brother
Yeah.
into the country. If we did not intervene, he would not have been able to.
Yes, that's the point. That's the point, and it's throughout. I mean, we've had similar difficulties trying to get our Haitian master drummer in Trinidad. We've had to go through and go, not go through the back door, but there's so many obstacles, both in Haiti, but by the council there, the Trinidadian council, the person who they have there, very objectionable, and here, and all the all the requirements. So the point is that from a CARICOM point of view now, what can CARICOM do? CARICOM can make free movement for Haitians in the same way that they do for every other member of CARICOM.
Yes,
Right?
I think it's there on paper. But
I don't know if it's there on paper. I don't. Well, the free movement is there for all members of CARICOM, but Haiti is an exception.
But they've made to sort of illustrate the point that you're making, Rob. After the earthquake in 2010, when the international, there was all this moral angst about the people of Haiti. There was a sense of solidarity across the world. I remember Senegal, the government, the Prime Minister of Senegal at the time, President Wade, opened the door and said any Haitian person who wanted to come back to Africa was welcome to repatriate, and he would give them land and other resources and so on. There was that sense of solidarity among our people with Haiti after that earthquake. One Haitian refugee landed in Trinidad. One. And if it was not for the intervention of the Emancipation Support Committee, they would have turned that young lady back. They kept her in that airport for hours. And if somebody didn't call the then chair of the Emancipation Support Committee, Brother Kafra Campbell, my father, and tell him about that situation, and he not get that board, including our current chair, Uzoma Wadada, Sister Zakia, and others involved, that person would have been returned to that to Haiti. And that tells you everything you need to know about the attitudes we have across the Caribbean community to Haitians. And that comes from a deeper, not just our contemporary concerns with migration and so on, it comes from a deeper place, a kind of self-loathing that is part and parcel of our colonial.
That's the point. That's the point. We are doing one of the projects that we are doing next year. This is on the theater part of it now, a play called Diary of Souls, which is written by a Bahamian, Ian Strawn. And it's about the treatment of Haitians in Bahamas. But I'm doing it here. But it makes the point that the main issue that Haitians face in Bahamas, and it would extend to here, is fear of their blackness.
And
blackness.
Right?
And all that goes with that as Haitian.
What role does voodoo play in that, Rob?
Well, all of that. But all of that is encapsulated in this idea of black.
Yes.
Or this idea of Haitian, right? It's black, it's the dirty, practice voodoo, all of that is part of the thing, So we've got to deal with that. And if that's the place where those restrictions are coming from, that has got to change.
And I have to give you a funny story. Remember a Haitian brother coming here? He was the son of a Christian minister in Haiti. And after spending some time in history, he said in Trinidad, he said to me, he said, Shabak, he says, I've never, there is more voodoo here than there is in Haiti, man. I think, I think, Raul, I think you had interacted with a couple of your friends, Raul.
Could well be. Could well be.
He said,
Yeah, you're full of
Shabak,
obeah.
there is more voodoo here in Trinidad than
Yeah,
in
yeah, 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 yeah. You're
And in
full of
fact,
obeah.
you know, I mean,
Proudly so. I'm
I
proud to
think,
say we're good obeah people. And there's I took the friend of mine, the Miriam Chauncey. She's a Haitian novelist, a writer. She writes other things, but novelist. But she came here, and I took her to visit Leroy Clark. And Leroy had this whole series of work on Haiti. He had about 100 paintings. I can't remember the title of it. I Haiti Cries or something like that. It was called. And she was so moved by the thing, It influenced the subsequent work that she did. She said that was a major influence on that thing, on that work. But she didn't say, well, there was more voodoo than here, but she was also deeply moved, not only by Leroy's dedication to Haiti, but by the spirituality, if you will, that emerged out of the work, So the idea of the bridges, of the things that we share in common, I mean, those are the tracks that we've got to lay down
yeah.
in
Let me,
seeing people as ourselves,
yeah,
seeing ourselves in
let
another.
me let me sort of put this in some kind of tangible historical context for you.
Mm.
We have in Port of Spain a street that honors a man called Ralph Abercrombie and one that honors Thomas Picton. Are you familiar with how and why they came into the Caribbean? How they emerged as figures in the Caribbean? They
Well,
actually,
go ahead.
General or
Picton.
Admiral Ralph Abercrombie. He was the man in charge.
Mm-hmm.
He came here to put down the Haitian Revolution and all the other wars of emancipation, the just wars for emancipation that our people were raging across the Eastern Caribbean. That's how he comes into the Caribbean. While he's here, he commits the crime of going to St. Vincent, breaking the treaty that the so-called Black Caribs had, the Garifuna had with the British, signed with the British. He broke the treaty, invaded their territory, and killed their great legendary leader, Joseph Chatouillet. Took his implements back to the United Kingdom. But the guys in the Eastern Caribbean succeeded in keeping him in war for such a long time that by the time he went to Haiti, the Haitians had already won their victory, their freedom. And that's how he came to Trinidad. When he realized that Haiti was a hard target, he said, okay, we lost Haiti. Let's take an easy target. And I think he actually picked another territory first and then came to Trinidad with Picton in tow. When he took over Trinidad with Picton in tow, he then leaves Picton here to govern. So those two people come here to stop us from being emancipated. And we honor them. But guess what? The people who fought for our emancipation, who led that victory, they are not remembered anywhere.
Well,
They're not
that's the thing.
memorialized anywhere in this country.
Yeah, that's the thing.
What tells you, that explains, in a kind of metaphorical and symbolic way, why Haitians today would be treated the way they are right now. Because we have not yet come to understand our history. I'll tell you what we found out before you take over.
Yeah, sorry.
And I want you to come in. Abercrombie took prisoners as he was defeating people, including some Grenadian leaders of revolutions, back to England. And I just discovered that the remains of our great leaders, are in a museum, a provincial museum in Britain today. I'm going to call the Grenadian authorities tomorrow. I'm going to tell you how it goes to find out what they're prepared to do with those remains in the future. So by emancipation, we should have an announcement. But it's good that we found out today.
Yeah. It's Shabaka is important work that you're doing. in terms of trying to change that perspective about how we memorialize what we memorialize as our history, right? What we do, you know. And again, there's a difference with Haiti. You know, when you go to Haiti, you see the statues of the public statues of the history. You see Negmawa, you know, from in the capital there, right?
Beautiful monument. I had to go and touch it myself when I was there.
Negmawa. You see
Dessalines.
Dessalines on his horse, you know, and so on. All the soldiers and whatnot. So, you know, the history is very present. And as I say, history, the Haitians carry history in their oral tradition, right? Their ancestors appear in the voodoo ceremonies, right? You can find Dessalines in the voodoo ceremony. So, you know, right? The ancestors appear. And the landscape itself bears its history. So when I speak of there's one of the difficulties that you know we have, maybe the rest of certainly the West has with Haiti, in the sense that they bear their history in the skin. You can't forget it.
Well, I think that, you know, coming up, based on what you see, and I'm glad you draw attention to the way that Haitians remember their ancestors in their public spaces. You know, we act like we do not have a political history or a history of struggle in Trinidad. So there's no hero before independence. You know, we've completely, except for Butler, we've taken Butler and Cipriani, and that's it. We don't have other political actors in this country, which is a shame and not true. And even where we memorialize those heroes that we've chosen, the way we do it is so, you know, outside of Cipriani's monument, I can't see any other monument. I mean, even the monument we erected to Brian Lara is terrible.
Part of the problem.
We're just throwing, you know, if we're gonna take it, let's throw something here and there. We don't put any thought or energy or resources into celebrating our heroes in a real way. We're not even interested in recovering them from the dustbin of history.
Yeah, and part of the problem is that we don't go far back enough, because if we go back, you know, beyond emancipation, we will encounter, of course, Hairima and Baconar. You know,
Baconar, yes.
Yeah, very important, Baconar, because he was the Nipoyo, I think he was, indigenous person.
Yeah, Baconar was Karina Pagoto. He was down on my side road. You're trying to claim him. You're from the east and from the west. I see Baconar is our boy.
All right. Well, he wasn't from Belmont. He wasn't from Freetown.
Right.
So he was at Bucarapo.
You were from this side too, right?
Yeah,
right.
but
he stood up. Side.
You know, in a way, he was our first hero in that sense. You know, he really stood up against the
listen,
Spanish.
Between Baconar and Hairima and independence, there are many more.
Of course.
You know, and if you were to call their names, as with Baconar, nobody knows who he is. I'm sure the listening audience, there would be those one or two in the listening audience who would have heard that name, but the majority of people wouldn't know he existed. You know, and
in the 1530s, just to explain that he is the one who resisted, right, the occupation of Trinidad by the Spanish in the 1530s, right? When they came here, Sedeno, brought his fleet here, and Baconar, when they tried to land and so on and settle here, because of course the focus was on El Dorado, you know, going to Venezuela and so on. But they tried to settle here. He killed them, right? There was a war that broke out, and several, you know, they couldn't settle. So they left, they went to Venezuela, and then they came back with stronger forces and did manage to set up fortifications. But he attacked again, right? And repulsed them. So they had to leave. And Trinidad was abandoned for a long time.
Yeah, and so he kept our space free from
Sovereign,
colonization and
sovereign,
sovereign
sovereign.
for some time longer,
Yes,
indeed, and that
yes, yes.
deserves, that's absolutely
He was
worthy
a
of mention.
defender of this
Yeah.
space.
I'm gonna.
That is true, Dr.
I'm just gonna call the name of one person that I think is really overlooked, in our history. And I don't want to take us away from the Haitian conversation. Let's come back and finish up that conversation. Although all of this is related, but that is a man by the name of Francis de Ridder. He's the first colored priest, Catholic priest in our country's history. And he becomes the major foil of Governor Ralph Woodford. Ralph Woodford, of course, is memorialized in a square, in a statue inside the Anglican Cathedral, in another monument inside the Catholic Cathedral, which talks about his great virtues. A lot of the history books talk about how handsome he was and how industrious he was and how involved he was in planning Port of Spain and setting up the Savannah, right? They decline to speak in any depth about the fact that he was the greatest white supremacist this country has ever known. And that Brother Francis de Ridder set up the first desegregated school and desegregated church in this country in opposition to Woodford. And that property where he set that up was where Rosary Boys and Rosary Church is today. That was owned by a black person back in the 1820s. And that's the site of the first that's the site of the first school where people of all colors could sit in the classroom together and where people of all colors could worship together. Those things have been erased from our history, along with the man who did that major historical accomplishment, while we celebrate the person who persecuted him to death in the form of the great racist Ralphie, as I like to call him, racist Ralphie.
And Shabaka, yeah, and Shabaka, the thing is that knowing that there's erasure, we have got to create the counter to it, right? We've got to fill the void, as Braffett Kamau says, fling me the stone that will fill the void. We've got to write the histories. I mean, what we're doing at Caribbean Yard campus, for instance, we have a history project. We started. What we do is through education. We run courses, right, in areas that we feel have been ignored in the formal system. Okay, and one of those areas is history. So we started a history project with a course called Nacido del Orinoco, right, which looks at the links between Venezuela and Trinidad. Right? Nacido del Orinoco, born out of the Orinoco, right? Because Trinidad was part of Venezuela. Really, we were attached.
Mm-hmm, yes,
Trinidad emerged. Yes, part
yeah.
that part of the
that attachment is still there under the ocean, under the water.
It's there under the ocean. It just sank, So we're exploring that history. So we begin there. But the point I'm making, and exploring history not as an academic subject, but really exploring it in a material way. Okay, looking at the evidence that there is, making it physical, taking people on field trips, right, and know the space around you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the kind of approach.
As you talk about Venezuela, there's a beautiful connection between Venezuela and Haiti, which a lot of people are not aware of.
Apart from Simon?
Well, the very first Venezuelan flag.
Oh yes.
Which was also the flag of Colombia,
that's
Ecuador, right. Maybe about 5 different countries in Latin America would be.
Yes.
Was unfurled in Haiti, in Jacmel, Haiti.
In Jacmel, yeah. It was made, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was made from the same cloth as the Haitian flag. And it used the same colors. It was the red and the blue come from the Haitian flag. They just added a yellow strip on top.
That's right.
And that's what gave these countries their independence flag.
Yes.
So it's very important for people in those countries in particular, but those of us in the Caribbean can feel a sense of pride that we were there right at the beginning of the of the gestation of independence in South America, and through the work of our great Haitian brothers and sisters.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, and of course there's so much more. But Roll, I think we you know to you know we're painting a picture here of a country that is both you know maligned unfairly, a country that has suffered a great deal of oppression that continues to be manipulated from outside, a country where the people cannot are not given the opportunity to use their capacity because the degree of sovereignty that they're able to have is just simply inadequate. A country where the region that it belongs to, the political region, now we're talking about the Caribbean community, has just not done enough to protect it from other outside forces, forces that are outside of CARICOM. And so we have to take, all of us have to take responsibility in that regard. And I don't know what else we can say about Haiti tonight.
That's it. That's it. I mean, the you know, I would close with by simply saying that what I mean by Haiti being the future is that in our taking responsibility that you mentioned, yeah, taking that responsibility, it means our having to come together. It means our having to face our past, right? And which we don't right now. And it means that we've got to look at Haiti as not as a resource in terms of finding solutions for who we are and to our present predicaments as well. So it's when I say Haiti is the future, I mean in that very engagement, we can move our consciousness forward, right? As a people, as a region, all right? Because we need to come together, and with Haiti being the center of our consciousness. So that's my final statement.
Well, you're the man, Raul, to make that statement and to give that statement the kind of power that it needs to have in the minds of the listeners. So this, brothers and sisters, has been another edition of the Kwame Ture Memorial Lecture Series. We hope tonight that the lessons of history that we gave you, that we shared, wouldn't just encourage you to reflect on the past, but to actually make history yourself, to be part of the making of history in the future. So this was our goal, and I think thanks to Brother Royal Gibbons, we've been quite successful in giving you the information that you would need to make you feel energized to be part of the solution in the future. I want to thank everybody who came out for tonight's discussion. Those of you who will see it in the subsequent days when you choose your time on Facebook or on Emancipation Support Committee's YouTube page, for tuning in and for being part of the Kwame Ture Memorial Lecture Series. I want to remind you that the discussions continue every week. You got to tune into the Emancipation Support Committee's Facebook page or their website to get the information about what's next. But you don't want to miss any of these presentations. They're all quite significant. They all deal with themes that are important to the future of our people, not just here in the Caribbean, but across the world. Of course, we had tonight, today was the 6th of July, we had the Haiti was the focus. On the 13th of July, we have Youth in Crisis, the responsibility of educators and elders. And of course, that's something you don't want to miss. Right now, that really is topical in Trinidad and Tobago. And we really need to understand the role of educators and elders in this country. Then, of course, on the 28th of July, we have Women in the Pan-African Struggle. And, of course, knowing the panelists on that particular one, I'm telling you, that's not something that you're going to want to miss at all. So the lecture series continues. Don't miss any. And if you have missed them, please go to the ESC Facebook page or the YouTube channel and review them before the next one. It's been a pleasure to share this time with you. I'm Shabaka Kambon, and I just want to thank you for coming again and to invite you to join us again for the next session. Take care and good night.